Welcome to Volleyball State, your look at volleyball in 6 rotations. Here are your hosts, Jeff Sheldon and Lincoln Arneal.
Hello and welcome to Volleyball State, a look at the sport of volleyball in 6 rotations, a proud part of the Hurrdat Sports family. I'm Jeff Sheldon, he's Lincoln Arneal, and our show today is all Pro Volleyball. The Pro Volleyball Federation's inaugural season has come to an end, and the Omaha Supernovas are the league's first champions. We're going to talk to a member of the champion Supernovas, outside hitter Brooke Nuneviller. Plus, we're going to take a bigger picture look at pro volleyball in America, as well as Team USA. It's international volleyball season now, and the Volleyball Nations League first week just wrapped up as teams are ramping up for the Summer Olympics in Paris in July. But Lincoln, first, hey, tell the folks where they can find us online and all that jazz so they can interact with us and keep this community going and growing.
Yes, you can find us. We're online on Twitter, is probably our most prominent social media platform. You can find us at Volleyball Pod. Also, you can find me at Lincoln_VB. We also have a TikTok account. We put up teasers you can see clips of our show and things upcoming. And you can also check out my writing on Huskers Illustrated, Volleyball Mag. I write a few stories for them about the championship match for Volleyball Mag, and also a Substack I put out stuff too. So all over the place.
That's right.
Jeff,
find us on Volleyball Pod. Oh man, mine is mostly just complaining about old man stuff and like amusing children anecdotes. Volleyball Pod is probably the best place they can find us online. But if you're really that masochistic and you want to follow my stuff, I'm on Twitter at @ByJeffSheldon. That's BY Jeff Sheldon. But hey, no more ado, Lincoln. Let's get into our first rotation, our strongest rotation, incidentally, this week, and get to celebrating.
Yeah, excellent. Yes, we are joined today by Omaha Supernovas outside hitter and captain of the team, Brooke Nuneviller. Brooke was a key component. She was named one of the best outside hitters in the entire league. Still celebrating, party's still going, right, Brooke? It never stops unless you let it. So we'll keep the party going, right?
Yes, the party will still be going until next season starts. I'm not going to lie. I'll still be celebrating.
I was actually wondering about that this afternoon. Is like, did the team go out afterwards? Does everyone stick together? Or did everyone kind of like go do their own separate celebrating? What was it like, not just in the locker room afterwards, but what did everyone scatter to after the match got done?
Yeah, the champagne shower was just like the pre-show, and then we all went down to Capital District, and we had a great time. Went to Roxy's and just got to celebrate properly. It was a really fun night, and I've said this so many times. I haven't had a more special team than this, so it was very bittersweet.
It started at the top too. Did Jason Derulo, did he go with you down to the Capital District too, or did he just the champagne shower and he's out?
No, he did. He came down. He interacted with us. Awesome person. It was great to meet him. Great to see his support at the game.
Oh, cool. It's been, we're talking to you on Sundays. It hasn't even been 24 hours since the end of the match. We're getting close to 24 hours too. Has it started to sink in at all? Are you able to kind of, the conversations you're having with teammates, with family members, with fans? What are some of the moments that when you think back about that championship match that are going to stand out to you?
Honestly, I think something that we kept saying throughout the huddle and just throughout the match was that we need to keep going. We need to keep pushing, because the team we were facing on the other side, I think, honestly, they didn't have their greatest night. And I think at any time they could have turned it on even more than they were. And so I think that gives credit to our team, because we did such a good job, starting off early, maintaining the pressure. But at no point were we comfortable throughout the match. So I think we did a really great job in that. But I also think that, I don't know, after that semifinal match, we could never have been stopped. We always knew that we could keep going after, like, we're down 0-2 or, we're up by 5. So it was a really special match, really special moment.
Yeah, I want to recap this for our listeners who might not either remember or have been able to follow the last week of volleyball in the Pro Volleyball Federation. It was an up and down week for Omaha. The Supernovas sweep Grand Rapids in the championship match on Saturday afternoon, but it didn't even look, at one point that the Supernovas might even make the championship match in the semifinal on Wednesday against San Diego. Omaha was down 2-0 before coming back and winning games 3, 4, and 5 for the reverse sweep on Wednesday. Brooke, just from kind of the midpoint of Wednesday to the high of Saturday, what were the emotional swings like, and how did you all kind of just turn it around to end up, getting the trophy at the end of the season?
Anyone on our team could have said that semifinal match was probably the most emotionally draining and emotional roller coaster they've ever been on. I know after the match, I was giving every one of my teammates hugs. There were tears in almost everyone's eyes just because I feel like that was such a special moment. I can only remember probably 2 or 3 reverse sweeps since college throughout my entire career. And it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the net. It's really hard to pull off. And so that just gives a lot of a credit to our grit and determination, and just the fact that we would never give up. And like I said, that really prepared us going into the final match. So, that semifinal match, I will always remember. Obviously, winning the finals, winning that championship is so incredible, but that semifinal match was so important for us.
Can I ask one more follow-up about the semifinal match on Wednesday? You dropped the first 2 sets, but then games 3, 4, and 5, quite honestly, neither of them were very close. I think game 4 was a 25-8, and then I think it was 15-8 again in game 5. When you look at such a big turnaround, there's probably some emotional changes that happen. Were there tactical changes that happen? I know Sydney came in and gave the team a lift at the setter position, but just how exactly does a team able to kind of climb out of its hole and so decisively like you guys did on Wednesday?
I think we settled down a lot in the third set. You probably saw some nerves. You saw we weren't playing the most clean of volleyball. And so after set 2, I think we started to really settle in, and we were like, hey, if we're going to do something, it has to be now. So I think the pressure went away almost a little bit, as weird as that sounds. I think Sydney did such a fantastic job entering into the match and bringing that calming presence as well. She stopped their outside hitters really, really well. She was an effective block presence. And so I think set 3, we were pretty calm going into set 4, 25-8. That's probably the most drastic score in the entire Pro Volleyball League this season.
It was, yes.
Yes. And then set 5, the nerves probably came back a little bit, because really anything can happen in the 5th set. It's really just who's hot. And so we gave it everything we had, and luckily it came through for us.
I don't know if any volleyball teams, except for maybe the NCAA tournament, have to play double headers. Was that hard having to wait around? Because the first match before you also went 5, so you had to be ready in case it was a 3-setter, but then you had to stand around and wait for an hour and a half. What was that challenge like to deal with?
I think for the national team and different things like that, obviously club volleyball, you'd have to do that, you're at a big convention center, it can go as long as they make it. But the national team, that's pretty common too. There's going to be a couple of matches before you, and you're just waiting around. You got to stay ready. You got to stay warm. We are really prepared too. And I don't think we are really thinking Grand Rapids, Atlanta, we don't care who we're playing. I think it really mattered how we were performing on our side of the net. And if we could control that, we thought we would be all right. But I think we stayed focused really, really well. We were warming up back there, watching the match, peppering probably 3 or 4 times, taking a break. But going into the match, like I said, we were nerves. We were probably just a little bit rusty, and then they settled out, and we executed in the end.
We're here with Brooke Nuneviller, outside hitter for the Omaha Supernovas. Brooke, I wanted to take you back to that, to your team's setters. This team has been able to succeed with both setters that you had on your roster this year. Sydney Hilly started the season as the starting setter. The team was able to get success both with Sydney and with Natalia Valentina Anderson. Nadi started the semifinal match. Sydney came in and gave you a lift midway through, and then was named the most outstanding player of the championship series playoffs and set a great match on Saturday. That is not super easy to do, because it seems like the outside hitters, the pin hitters on your team, kind of succeed with different kinds of sets. Mm-hmm. How difficult a job was it for both Nadi and Sydney to kind of come in and know that maybe not know that they were going to be the one to handle the action that night? How is this team able to succeed under both of those setters?
That is such a hard job, to just mentally prepare your mind to not know if you're going to be the one performing. And I think that's a really hard job for them, but it's also a really hard job for us because, like you said, the pin hitters, the middle blockers on our team, they like different balls, having to adjust to these different setters. Nati and Sydney are very, very different setters, both so incredibly talented, but very different. And I think it just shows how, one, talented both Nati and Sid have been this entire season, but also just really incredible human beings. And I think a lot of teams would struggle with these consistent changes being made. But with them, they did everything so gracefully and so seamlessly. And they were always there supporting one another no matter what. And that's a very hard job too. Whoever was on the bench, they're giving feedback during timeouts. They're wanting the other teammate to perform well. And I think at the end of the day, that's why we were so successful as a team, because we have players like that.
You mentioned, I know physically they're different too. I mean, Sydney's a little bit taller, and Nadi's a little bit shorter. I mean, but how are they different? Are they sending you different balls, or technically how are they different as setters?
If you look technically, I mean, Nati's release point is going to be a little lower than Sid's. So sometimes it could have a bit higher trajectory. Sometimes she's going to shoot a flatter ball. I think the way that they set is a little differently too. I think Nati, she will, I guess you could say, chuck the ball around a little bit. She wants to be that really deceptive setter. And sometimes she will take getting us less blockers, like getting us one-on-one matchups, and exchange that for, I don't know, maybe missing just a little bit. Really talented. She barely misses. But Sydney, on the other hand, I feel like she takes her time in what she's thinking, and she's very smart about what she's doing. So I think she will give us a really perfect ball a lot of the time, but it's very calculated. And both of those are really great techniques. Both of them are very different, but like I said, they're very different setters. Both very talented, and like you said, very successful this season.
For sure. Another piece that kind of changed as the course of the season went on, I think in mid-April, you signed Stephanie Samity too. I mean, she just finished her season in Europe, comes back. I think you even said kind of in the post-game press conference too, that just she seamlessly fit and just went about her business, put up 30 kills, no big deal. Just
no big deal.
Was she the final piece that you needed to kind of elevate to win that championship?
Yeah, we wouldn't be where we are without her help. Like you said, 30 kills, and people didn't really think a second time about it. She made it just so easy. And I think as an opposite attacker, that is a lot of the times your job when you're overseas. Like if you look at Italian, Turkish opposite hitters, it's like they are the point scorers of the team. And just for her to be able to do that is very challenging. I think she only was with us for about a month. And so she's joining this really well put together, really intimate group of girls, and seamlessly fitting in, seamlessly scoring 30 points in the semifinal match. And I don't think we would have won that semifinal match without her.
Brooke, Omaha ends the season, of course, at the top of the podium as the champions of the PVF. And I would have to say you were probably one of the favorites going into the league as well when the rosters were first put together. But it's not like the Supernovas just blew through this league. There was some adversity that you all faced along the way. There were some losses. You had a coaching change a couple matches in, and I'd love for you to give us a little bit of insight onto how Bird Kuhn kind of rallied this team together. What sort of presence was she throughout the season, and how, I think she was named the league's coach of the year at the end of the season, the only one of those coaches that was not a head coach at the start of the year. By the media, excuse me. Which is you, right? It was you and Dan Gilman making the decision.
There was 14 people who voted on that. There was a lot of national people. And blame Emily Eamon too.
Certainly worthy recognition too if you lead your team to a championship. But Brooke, can you just tell us about what Laura was able to do to kind of bring this group together, and what you really needed from her throughout the season?
I think something that she did probably better than anyone else was that she really listened to her players and what they needed. I think you have such talented and experienced players on our team, people like Betty De La Cruz, people like Nati, people like Christina, Tori Dixon, and just a lot of veterans. And I think what we needed as a head coach was someone to have that back and forth relationship and have that mutual respect. And we really got that from her this season. we're after practice, we're needing extra reps, I'm wanting to hit a couple balls, she's always there for us, always there. And I think that's what made this seamless transition from Sheldon to her at the beginning of the season. And like I said, there was that mutual feedback back and forth between players and head coach.
For sure. And you just wrapped up the first season for the Professional Volleyball Federation too, but you played for a year in Turkey. And we heard all year about how great it was to be playing in front of family and friends, to play in the United States. You're busy with practices, you're busy with just kind of training and things like that. What are the biggest differences in the day-to-day life of a professional volleyball player playing in Turkey versus playing in the United States?
If you look tactically, practice schedule and things like that, I guess you could say we might have practiced a little more in Turkey. We would have double days 3 times a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. And then just the format is a little different. In those double days, we'll have a really slow morning. We'll focus on serving and passing, really limited jumps, and then really competitive high-level 6-on-6 in the afternoon. Here, I really liked that they listened to their players and, what our bodies needed, because we had a lot of matches this season, probably more than any other league around the world. Even if you're playing in European tournaments, you're playing in your Turkish league, you're going and playing in a European championship, European Champions League, whatever it is, we still had more matches than most of those teams. I think sometimes we would have 4 matches in 8 days, 5 matches in 11 days. It was a lot. And so the fact that we were able to have that back and forth relationship with our coach, where she would listen to what we needed before a big match, I think it really helped us stay healthy throughout the season.
Yeah. One of the things that I heard that kind of really got the team going a little bit was adding was it a serve receive in the more before games with two? Was that an example of listening, hey, we need to get our bodies going, we need to get moving before a match and not kind of wait till later that evening? Is that an example of that relationship and a step this team kind of made to improve?
For sure. I think at the beginning of the season, our home record was not nearly as good as our away record. And I think a common denominator in that was we would have a morning serve and pass. And so we'd have the conversation beforehand, and we're all like, hey, we may not want to practice an hour before the match, and then we'll have that 15-minute break right before. But I think it was really important for our bodies, and I think our players needed the touches. And so, yeah, we definitely did make that adjustment.
One of the things I would have to imagine is different, playing in a domestic league as opposed to playing in Turkey is, I could tell from the early beginning that the Supernovas were very involved with the community. They tried to be out there. Players tried to be visible. The management, the front office tried to be really visible. And I think I saw the result of that when I would come to matches and there were so many kids there, both boys and girls. It was a very family-friendly atmosphere. We saw on camera last night you signing your shoes and giving them away to fans afterwards. I mean, how you're not from this community. This is a community you haven't been in for very long, but what motivates the players to be part of this and know that it's more than just the game that you play between the lines, but that there's a community out here that you can be a part of and help kind of bring into this franchise?
In my opinion, if I am playing in whatever community it is, if I'm not from there, I become a part of that community. The amount of support that we've received this season has been astronomical, and I think it's almost my duty and our team's duty to give back to them because they're giving us so much. I don't think we would have won this year without playing in front of our fans. In some of those matches, they were crucial, averaging 10,000 people a game and just really feeling that community support. I think there's a lot of different examples throughout the season. For example, you have the stretch of tornadoes that really disrupted the community. And I think a lot of our teammates, one, were affected, but also just wanted to help and they wanted to give back. We feel like we have a connection with them. So, it was really important to me. You did see me sign and give away my shoe. I think a lot of young girls are looking up for us, and that's the first opportunity they've had in at least this professional sport of volleyball in the States. And so we're hoping to keep that going, throughout the years.
How did that come about? Is that something you had done in previous matches too, or just they ask you, ask you the right moment? How did that kind of exchange happen?
I have done that after my seasons. I mean, I won't wear those shoes again, and so it's I don't want the old volleyball shoes, and a lot of these girls would, think that's really cool. So I think I'm just after them. anyone wants some shoes? And a lot of girls are really excited about them. So if I can make their day, that's awesome.
Well, so the season is over. Sorry, go ahead, Lincoln.
I'll say, we talk a lot about being involved in the community. I mean, we saw the team made a big trip to the zoo. I mean, was that one of the highlights, is going to visit, especially the penguins in the zoo? Is that one of the highlights for you off the court this year?
That was an awesome team bonding experience. I think things like that make us really close, both on and off the court. But that was incredible. We got to have like a very exclusive, intimate experience with the penguins. We got to go in the exhibit. We got to pet the penguins, and I never thought I would do that in my life. So yeah, that was awesome.
Well, the first PBF season, has come to a close. It was obviously a huge success in Omaha, both in terms of the on-court result, winning the league championship, seeing the amount of fan and community support the franchise received. But what kind of comes next, not only for you, Brooke, but for your teammates? Because, as I understand it, I don't know how many players are signed to multi-year agreements. Are there players that are going to be switching teams after the end of this season? Not really sure what sort of the free agency period looks like. So and then of course a lot of players are going to go play somewhere else, maybe in the summer or in the fall. So what does just the next 3 or 6 months look like for you and the rest of the players on the Supernovas?
That looks very different for every single player. And I think something that not a lot of these fans and supporters are used to is that it's very, very common overseas for teams to look very, very different. And so I'm not sure exactly what our team will look like next year. But I think, with the community support, it'd be hard for players not to want to come back. But I do know some people are already signed to other teams. Some people are on break right now. Some people might play in another season. For example, I'll play in the Athletes Unlimited along with a lot of my teammates in the fall. And then, I think conversations really are going to be starting at the end of the month. And then I think the official date that you can sign is June 30th. So you'll probably start to hear some exciting news for the Supernovas.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, it's been an exciting journey that's been on for the last, it seems like yesterday we were just getting on a Wednesday in January, welcoming 11,000 people, and what's PVF? What is this league too? So it's been a fun journey to go on. And I think that, like you said, it's been fun to be part of the community, and hopefully it was really cool to see all the fans interact with the players. I thought Tori Dixon had her own little cheering crowd. Nadia had her cheering crowd too. You had little girls that were signing it. So it's been a fun journey, and hopefully professional volleyball is in it for the long run here in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really grateful to get this opportunity, so I can't wait to see where it goes in the future.
Excellent. Well, Brooke Nuneviller, outside hitter for the Omaha Supernovas, league champions in the first year of the Pro Volleyball Federation. Brooke, good luck to you. Have a great month or so off. Good luck to you this summer, this fall, and we hope we see you back in Omaha next season. So much success to you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, Brooke.
All right, Brooke Nuneviller with the Omaha Supernovas, league champions. Lincoln, you were at the matches on Wednesday and Saturday. What was the atmosphere like just in these playoffs? You had 2 5-setters on Wednesday. You had the home team winning it all on Saturday. If you were going to pencil this out for the PVF in the beginning of year one, at least as far as like results went, I think you'd have to be pretty happy with how everything ended up, playing out.
Yeah, for sure. Wednesday was a little bit weird start. I got to the arena about a little after 5 o'clock, 5:30, and it wasn't that full. It was also because there was a giant downpour going on too. I had to wade through some floods in the street too. So a little bit sparse at the start of that first semifinal between Atlanta and Grand Rapids, but it filled up pretty well for a weeknight. The match went all the way past 11 o'clock, and that was kind of one of the cool moments. The 5th set started just after 11 o'clock, and I think at least 75% of the people were still in the seats on a Wednesday night. So it was a great environment too. And I was talking to another media member there who said that, I don't know, Omaha have saved the league because with that reverse sweep. I don't know of that, but that's like you said, it's what the league wanted to get a huge crowd there on Saturday to have Omaha there, because Omaha had not been playing there.
Well, you're not really sure what a Grand Rapids Atlanta championship match in Omaha, Nebraska looks like on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, San Diego. San Diego.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. San Diego, Atlanta final. Looks like, yeah. I mean, I'll make a confession right now on the show. I actually went to bed after game 3. I saw Omaha win game 3. At that point, it was probably, past 10:30 on Wednesday. I got work the next day. So I went to bed, and then when I saw the result, I got up and, the next night watched the replay on YouTube and was able to watch the comeback. And so I think, this is what rotation 2 is. We're going to discuss the semifinals, the championship match. You want to start with the semifinal on Wednesday, Omaha and San Diego, because this really was a tale of 2 matches. And, Omaha, who had been starting Natalia Valentin Anderson at setter, their last couple matches, and she had set them to great success. They had won several matches in a row with her setting. What I noticed just from the broadcast at home, San Diego really had her dialed in defensively. They were able to attack over her. She's only, maybe 5'8", 5'9". She is not the world's tallest setter.
Undersized.
And so Temitola Salara, the former Northwestern star and cup of coffee drinker in Madison with the Wisconsin Badgers, was going up, over, around, and through Nati over on the pins, and San Diego was making it look fairly easy. But then things flipped in game 3. How did you see that happen beyond what Brooke was able to tell us just a bit ago?
And I think too, I mean, you kind of had it a little bit. It was defensively that Omaha really changed things up too. There were so many bounced balls in those first 2 games that Omaha defenders weren't even getting a hand on or an arm on or any appendage on to pop it up or give themselves a chance. I mean, they were San Diego was just they were playing a lot better. They deserved to win, and they were up 6-0 in the start of that second set, and that's when Omaha made that change to Sydney Hilly. Mm-hmm. And you'd seen this all year long too. Is if Omaha runs into a rough patch, just flip the setter and see if it can spark it. And they kind of a little bit, but they just were never really able to get back in it. So I think that that's kind of the big noticeable part is just Sydney Hilly in there. But I think, like you said, and she's able to get put up a little bit bigger block, which helps. But it just defensively, they were able to get things going. And I think, the one consistent the entire match was Stephanie Samity. She was just a revelation. I think in that third set, she had 10 kills. So she was not going to be denied and really elevated the game. And the thing about her is that she's almost as effective coming off that 10-foot line as she is at the pin. So you can't ignore her whenever she's on the court. So she's really a big difference. So Sydney Hilly's is the big difference too, but the defense picked up a bit. They got a better block, and that really and then you're passing better. The offense starts clicking a little bit, but then that led to the fourth set. We mentioned it with Brooke too, but 25-8 is the largest blowout in a 25-point set in the PBF in the entire first year. So it's just everything that was going right for Omaha, and they really felt like a team of destiny at that point too. I mean, were you surprised when you woke up the next morning, Jeff, and to see Omaha had won, even though you went to bed? They were.
I was, but then the more you think about it, how many times in volleyball do we see a team win game 1 and 2, but if they lose game 3, then that team is most likely going to win game 4 too. It's such a game of momentum, and then in game 5, anything can happen. But when you have an X factor like Stephanie Samity on the pins, I think you kind of always have a chance. And you mentioned them setting her in the back row. I mean, I remember seeing so much when she was at Minnesota. They would set her the D ball in the back right. They would set her on the pipe in the middle, all out of the back row. And when she's got the leaping ability to make the back row look like a front row attack for a lot of players, kind of like Nebraska uses Merritt Beeson right now. And Stephanie Samity is just such an incredible athlete and a great hitter. The other change that, I don't know if you saw this too, if you don't serve San Diego tough, and they can get Nutsara Tom-Common system. She is a little bit older right now, but she is still one of the best setters in the world. And in her prime, she probably was the best setter of the world. She would set, Thailand to some big upsets in international play just because she was such a great setter. And if you give a setter like that, a 3-point pass and she has all her options available, like you're just asking to be sliced and diced. So, that was part of the defensive struggles that Omaha had, in my opinion, on Wednesday night. Was Omaha is one of the best serving teams in the league, but San Diego was passing really well. And, you contrast that maybe to Saturday against Grand Rapids, where Omaha at times was just serving Grand Rapids off the court, especially in game one.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think don't know if when we talked a lot about Samity's attack presence, but her serve. I mean, Betty De La Cruz was named server of the year by the PVF, and she led the league in aces by far. But when you add another jump server like Samity, it makes it that much more mentally taxing. And I think the other thing too, I mean, sometimes Omaha has a propensity for service errors too, but Sydney Hilly was getting her serve in, Brooke was getting her serves in, and that really kind of made the difference, to the point there were a few times, I think, because they wanted a bigger block to try to slow Omaha down, that San Diego took off their setter and brought in their backup just kind of in the back row, and they did a front court switch too, just to kind of give them more attackers up front, not because of any, I don't think because that she was performing that poorly, but just again, I noticed that Grand Rapids did that too, and maybe teams do that a little more often just to give themselves a bigger block. But that's the luxury that Sydney Hilly gives you, is she can stay in all 6 rotations because she's 6 foot tall and is not a liability at the net too. So that was
you see the double sub a lot more with just the limited substitutions, and you'll see that in kind of an international. That's the one time you do see a lot of subbing. International level is like that. In college, you have plenty of subs and can run a 6-2 if you want. But yeah, just it's something that I've seen fairly common. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but Omaha then got off to a good start in the 5th set. And like you said, they felt like a team of destiny once they got a few point advantage. I think it was tied 9-9. And then Omaha really came through in the clutch late. The crowd was phenomenal. And it really kind of helped Omaha to that win on Wednesday, which then you fast forward to Saturday. Even the crowd was it was 10,678 or something like that. But it was the most energy I had felt in CHI. Like, it was just a lot. I mean, the fans were ready to go from the first point. It was electric. And I think that really infused the way Omaha probably had something to do with it, the way they were playing. Maybe it was both give and take. One, they were helping the fans were helping them. So it really felt like, and also they carried the momentum on from Wednesday night too. So it was impressive first set that Omaha had against.
Even though there was 2 days off between the semifinal and the final, it looked like, Wednesday night, the second half of that match, Omaha was who showed up at the start of Saturday's championship match. Omaha, as I said before, really got aggressive with their serving. Grand Rapids was out of system from the beginning, and that gave Omaha a lot of offensive chances, which they clearly took advantage of because they hit 6-15 in game one. Like, given an open net, Lincoln, and a good setter, you and me together, I don't think could hit 6-15 against, zero defense. Like, you could put some trash cans out there and we probably struggle to hit 6-15. But Stephanie Samity had a great start. I think Tori Dixon had a good start, if I remember right, too. Omaha was feeding the middles early, and 6-15 in game one. Omaha wins in a blowout. And then it tightened up. It did tighten up Lincoln a little bit from there.
Yeah, the second set, a lot closer. When the Grand Rapids really got their offense going a little bit, slowed down Omaha again. And the Rise actually had a chance to take that. It was 23-21, but then Omaha kind of flipped the switch. Got a kill from Samity, a couple kills from Betty De La Cruz. So they had got to set point. They looked like they won the set, but a replay review, there was a touch on the block. But then Omaha came back. Even they started to celebrate a little bit, but you see this with so many. They have 2 challenges each set, so a lot of teams will waste it on that set point if it's even close. They did, got it overturned. Omaha came back, won the next 2 points, and really kind of said, "This is our match." And you kind of figured the sweep was mathematical at that point. Omaha took care of business in the third set.
Game 3 was fairly tight too. Was it tied late in game 3? It was like 21-21, something like that, before Omaha ended up pulling away and winning it on a service error. I remember that. But it was another, fairly tight set until late. And Omaha finishes off the sweep in front of over 10,000 people. It didn't even have to go to 11 o'clock at night like the semis on Wednesdays. That's what you get with a 3 o'clock or a 3:30 start. We take a look just real quickly at some of the numbers. Stephanie Samity on Saturday in the championship match, 13 kills. Betty Dela Cruz also 13 kills. And then Brooke Nuneviller, 12 kills. So a really balanced offense that Sydney Hilly ran on Saturday. Hilly, after not starting the last several matches leading into the postseason, ended up being named the MVP of the postseason. She finished the championship match with 40 assists. And I mean, Brooke took us through a little bit, but those setters are so different. That's not only is it a credit to Coach Kuhn for picking the hot hand to run. I think Omaha's attackers deserve a lot of credit for being able to adjust to both of those, because Nuneviller needs kind of like a faster, flatter set. Betty Dela Cruz, you got to hang it up there and let her go up and get it. The middles all need something different, and then I think Stephanie Samity is able to adjust to kind of whatever, but getting it up higher and letting her use her leaping ability is something that she needs to succeed. So you need different tempos, you need different heights. It's difficult for a setter to kind of come in and set that team, especially when you're not doing it every single day like Hilly did. So big credit to Sydney Hilly, and Omaha finishes it off, wins the first PVF championship.
Yeah, I was just going to build off your point there too. I mean, I think it's a team effort too, and not only, pulling the setters back and forth too, that can be disorienting for people. And the way they handle that situation too is, they probably might have known that they're going to get another shot eventually down the road, but they really, I think speaks to their maturity, their leadership, and their poise and understanding that they wanted the team to succeed, and if they didn't have it that night, their partner would, and give the other team a different look. And it was really, you don't see that very often. In football, they say if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have 0 quarterbacks. Well, Omaha used 2 setters the entire year in a one setter system. But the way they handled it was really impressive, and it's really cool to see Sydney recognized for what she did, because I don't think she didn't play. She didn't play in the 3 matches prior to the playoffs too. So she had a week or 2 off where she wasn't playing in matches too. So to come in when her team desperately needed her was just really impressive, really cool for her. And cool for the Supernovas. They get $1 million. I think we haven't talked about that too. That was the big prize. They got a big novelty check they brought out to give them there. I don't know how many ways they're going to divide that, but
if you split that 20 ways, that's $50,000 per person. If you divide it up by 20, I was actually going to ask Brooke, you have any plans for that bonus money? The other thing I wanted to kind of get into with Brooke that I forgot about that you sort of just brought up there, Omaha had to play it was 3 matches in the week leading up to the playoffs, or it was 4 in 15 days or something like that. Meanwhile, you got Atlanta on the other side, and we talked about this on our last show. Atlanta didn't play, I think, for 12 or 13 days leading up to the playoffs, just because of how the schedule worked out. And, what kind of grind was that for Omaha, who not only had to play those 3, and then they play a 5-setter, on the Wednesday night when they just played on Sunday, and they carry that into Saturday. So this was a draining 2-week period for the Supernovas, and, they were able to grind through it and end up winning the championship.
Yeah, they went that last week. They Saturday, May 4th, they were at Columbus. Then on Monday, they were at Vegas. Thursday, they were at home against Columbus, and then they were at Grand Rapids. So they played, and then they come home on that Wednesday for the playoffs. And that loss that they had on Sunday to the Grand Rapids Rise was the one time they lost them in the 5 matches they played. But they gave their starters most of that match off. But it was a very strange. We never asked them, Atlanta, about if rust hurt them or if they were, like you said, 12 days off between their last match and that. But Omaha really proved their mettle, and it was impressive. We did ask Brooke in the post-game press conference what she planned to do with it, and I think she said she put it into savings. So,
look at that. That's responsible.
Yeah, I don't know if they had an unofficial team rule, but they did not talk about the money at all. If anytime someone brought it up outside, they shot it down and said, we haven't won anything. We're not thinking about it. So when they were able to think about it, they're like, I don't know. We'll worry about that later. So
they probably got financial people, wise women that they are. Hey, let's go into rotation 3, where you and your media cronies got to do some queen making. You've named the all league team. You gave out some awards. Run us through this.
Yeah. So to really kind of pull back the curtain, I wasn't planning to do this, but PVF unleashed theirs. I mean, I think the coaches vote on it. Good for them. But their all league first team had 4 outside hitters. It had a libero, so I was happy to see that, and a couple opposites. But it had 0 setters and 0 middle blockers on the first team. So I was talking to Rico, who works the radio at the Ticket. We're like, we can do better. We can better. So him and I kind of then I contacted all the media relations people for each team, tried to find a beat writer or 2 or somebody that covered each team locally. I got most of the teams. I didn't get all of them. Some of our media relations people, I think, were checked out for the year, but I got most of the teams. And I talked to some of the national partners, people that have covered the league. Holly McPeak voted in it, so that was great.
Oh, nice.
I got her.
She did a really nice job with Paul Sunderland on the broadcast.
Yeah. It was good to see them. So I think there was 14 people that voted in totality. We came up with a great team. Leah Edmond from outside hitter from Atlanta, named MVP both by the coaches and the media. I think she was really impressive. Averaged the most points per set for anybody in the entire league. So it was really cool to see out of her. She really carried the league and was really impressive. Reagan Cooper from Columbus was the rookie of the year. And then differing from what the coaches selected, Laura Bird-Kuhn from Omaha was the coach of the year too. Very close vote between her and the San Diego coach. One vote separate. I'll tell you, one vote separated between them, but really impressive. Good, nice honor for her to be recognized that way.
Can you really have a rookie of the year in a league that's in its first year?
Yeah, it's probably different, but we limited to people who are fresh out of college, who had played college in the fall, and so we did that. But awesome. I'll quickly go through the teams.
Run through the teams. Absolutely.
Yeah, so Leah Edmond was the only unanimous selection for the first team. So again, kind of reflecting her MVP. There were other players who had MVP votes, but she was the only unanimous first team choice. So her and Claire Chassé from Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids.
Put a team in Grand Island. Why not?
Anyone listening outside of Nebraska is very confused right now.
That's all right. It's all right. Grand Island. They fill the Phil Heartland event sport, the Fauner Park, with a number of people. They can support a volleyball team. The 2 middle blockers were Kahm Broham and Kristina Vuchkova from Omaha. Kahm Broham from Orlando. Opposite was Emilia Dimitrova from Grand Rapids, who you saw in the championship match, the level that she plays with, really impressive. And then San Diego, Nusara Tomcom. Is that how you say it?
Nusara Tomcom.
Mm-hmm. Yes, she's the setter from San Diego. She was that. And then Morgan Hentz, she was really impressive as libero for Atlanta. She was a libero on the first team too. Also, we're talking about Morgan Hentz. She had a really great post-game interview after their semifinal loss about what it meant to be playing professional volleyball in the United States too. So go to the Atlanta Vibe social media, look that up, and see that.
I love Morgan Hentz. She was always so good at Stanford. And it doesn't surprise me that she was really, insightful about that. I hope, we get to see her as part of the Team USA program in the next cycle.
Yeah. So I'll pause there. I mean, anything stand out about that first team or anything that
No, absolutely not. Claire Chassé was really impressive for Grand Rapids on Wednesday and Saturday. She was a stud at Louisville. We got to see her in college. She was putting balls away. She's really creative with her shot making and just really productive. So that didn't surprise me. I think your picks are really good. I can just run through the second.
I was saying Claire also had a great birthday. She had her birthday on Wednesday, so a great semifinal win for her for Grand Rapids. So yeah, take the second team, Jeff.
Yeah, you guys had Brooke Nuneviller on the second team, other outside hitter, Temi Thomas Alara of San Diego. Brooke Nuneviller's college teammate, Ronica Stone, another Oregon Duck at middle blocker from San Diego, was on the second team. Ali Bastianelli, who has now started going by Allison Bastianelli, I guess. Sometime in her 9 years at Illinois, she decided to go with the full use of her name. Middle blocker from San Diego, Allison Bastianelli is on the second team. The opposite on the second team was Anna Lazareva of Atlanta. Mm-hmm. So excuse me if I butchered that pronunciation. Kylie Muir of the libero from Las Vegas was the second team libero, and the setter Ashley Evans, the old Purdue Boilermaker from Grand Rapids, was the setter on the second team. So yeah, I think that those pretty good picks.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that got honorable mention too. I will say Betty De La Cruz, I think, was the next outside hitter on. She got the fifth most votes at outside hitter. But the one interesting thing that I thought was there was one vote for Stephanie Samity at opposite hitter, but every other person, first and second team, voted for Lazareva and then Dimitrova. So those two were by far the best two. I don't know if that was just a week because, Samity came in late, made a big impact. Kendall Kipp came in for Columbus, made a big impact too. So, but those two were by far the best prospects, and there was a lot. Setter was also very tied. Kendall White was in consideration for length. She might have been the third libero. So it was just a lot of people got votes. So there's probably another dozen or so, probably 15 people who got votes in consideration for the all league team. So it was a fun experiment. Thanks to Avid for making great graphics on very short notice, and everyone else who voted in very short notice. It was kind of fun to do that. So,
Yeah. Well, I think one thing I noticed, the reason why there was probably, only one unanimous choice on the first team was the level of talent in this league was pretty equal, and you saw that across the league in just the records. Yeah. Atlanta kind of ran away with the regular season, or with the best record in the regular season. And then, they ended up losing to the 4th seed in the semifinals. So it's not like all the talent in the league was kind of concentrated just on one or two teams. There were some really talented players in this league, and probably will remain on year two. And I think that's a good segue into rotation for kind of our overall takeaways from the first year of the PVF. Unless you had anything else you wanted to add on your first and second team all league teams.
I'm ready to roll on rotation 4.
Well, so this is so different with the PVF when you compare it to, most other pro sports leagues in the US, where you've got lots of, teams, players under contract, long-term contracts. Fans at least will know some of the core of their team. And I don't think we know that for any of the teams in the PVF next year. I don't believe there's, multi-year contracts right now. So your favorite volleyball team in your Pro Volleyball Federation market could have 12 new players on it the next year. And, I understand the kind of the circumstances that lead to that. And we're going to get into some of those, but you just hope that the fans that came out and built relationships with some players or had a favorite player, at least some of them, there's going to be some sort of continuity, both in the, the front offices, the coaching staffs, the players, because, the league doesn't have the equity yet where everyone's just kind of cheering for a jersey.
Yeah. I think that's the other cool thing too, is they completed their league. And they have every intention to keep going too. I know some owners who are investors get sticker shock after seeing what it actually costs to run a first league. And there were things that came up that may have surprised them, but for all intents and purposes, they are go for year 2. They're going to add 3 new teams. So I think that's the great thing too. I think you saw a little bit as the year went on, some teams kind of figure out what it took to run this team. I think it was, even if you announce teams a year in advance, this is why sometimes expansion teams for other professional leagues are announced 2 years in advance, because it takes a long runway to get a team up and running, let alone a league. So it was great to see that. It was also cool to see Omaha host the championship. They really kind of proved that they were the crown jewel of the league, which I don't know if everyone thought that, but I think there were a lot of expectations that Omaha would set the standard for the league going at. So, so again, it's great. I'm glad that the first year of professional volleyball in the United States is done. It's in the books. Ready to move forward to. I did come up with a bunch of things that I thought, here's some things that you could do better. Because They did a great job.
We've got notes. We've got notes, PVF. That's essentially what we're saying. And the league certainly has strengths too. I think one of the biggest strengths, and this sounds like this, I'm not damning with faint praise here. This is an actual thing that, not every league can say, is they completed the league season, right? They completed it without any sort of high profile embarrassments. Like no team folded midway through the league. No team had a travel situation that had them stranded and unable to make a match. No match had to be canceled or rescheduled for various reasons. Like actually getting it across the finish line in year one is a big accomplishment. And I hope that everyone who's involved with the league, takes pride in that. Maybe that sounds like the lowest possible standard, but other leagues have failed to meet that standard. And, look at the myriad of indoor football leagues that like the United States has had. Like, the league was able to get through and crown a champion and showcase its franchises and some of its stars without, a big black eye of having to cancel any kind of matches or no player came out in the media and just said, hey, this market is terrible, or my management is doing things all kinds of wrong. So, I think everyone from the players to the front offices to the sponsors involved really had an investment and wanted this to work. And so everyone kind of, put their best foot forward. However, there are some things I think if the league is going to maintain long-term viability that do need to get addressed.
Yeah, I think the first one, and I think you probably agree with me, is they need to find a better television or find a television partner. CBS Sports did a wonderful job. I think, like we talked about too, both with Holly and Paul, they did a great job calling it. The problem is that CBS Sports has a lot of college basketball, and they didn't start showing the volleyball matches till mid-March once college basketball was essentially done for the year. It was in the tournament, but that was all on different networks. But you can't have a national partner only be available for half of the league. And then, it was nice. Every single match was available on YouTube, but you're not making money off of YouTube. You're not.
Exactly.
You're not
you brought
reaching any new audiences with it either.
Your broadcast is two things, right? It is exposure. So it exposes, gets fans familiar to your product, educates people about the game, especially volleyball, if you're not as familiar with the rules and the format and everything. But maybe most practically, broadcasting is money. You cannot have a league survive just off of gate revenue from tickets, not even when you're drawing the kind of numbers that the Supernovas are drawing. And they were twice as successful in that area as most of the other teams in the league. You have some franchises that are drawing maybe 2,000 or 3,000 a night. And so, broadcast partnership brings in absolutely essential revenue that's going to help the league survive, let alone grow and expand. And so, that's really job one, I feel like, for season 2, is they have to get a TV partner who's willing to facilitate investment in the league.
Yeah. And maybe they'll be able to get a better schedule now that they have a little bit longer runway, but I don't stick with CBS Sports if that's good. We recently came out that Love Volleyball has signed a deal with ESPN, ESPN Plus, so that probably rules out them as a partner for PVF. But maybe Peacock and NBC Universal is interested too. If the United States has a good run in the Olympics with volleyball and people are really interested, they could build off of that, and they have a good streaming platform. But or Fox, if they, I think they outsource a lot of their stuff to BTN when they show matches. So I don't know what kind of infrastructure Fox has to show, but there are partners out there to get a wider net. So hopefully they do that. That also kind of leads into one of my other points too, is figuring out the best time slots, best days of the week for matches too. You saw in the crowds at Omaha, there's a big difference. You were regularly getting 10,000 people on weekends, and you're getting 8,000 people and during the weekdays. So, and there were random matches on Monday, Tuesday, whenever. So just figuring out when the times regularly scheduled, so people know it's Wednesday night, it's volleyball night, let's watch some volleyball, or it's Saturday night, let's watch volleyball, or college volleyball. It's done a good job of carving out Sunday afternoon as kind of a regular programming too. Find a good partner.
Monday night match is not ideal to either draw fans or get TV eyeballs, I don't think.
Yeah.
And then you had a really good
day, and it's tied into a big club tournament. That was the one good thing that worked out. But yeah, I agree.
I really like your last point that you got down here in the show notes too, is making the stats accessible. That's so important, not just for like people like us who want to talk about matches in an educated way, but it's a great way to get people familiar with your sport. You know, we've got to have people on the inside who are able to have access to these stats and get us a little bit more insight. But the league's website could really beef that up a little bit. And I think there's a disconnect between how international stats are listed and what kind of we're used to seeing at the college level. And you have to do a little translating there. But who's the league's leading scorer? Who's the league's leading blocker? Like, this stuff all needs to be easy to find. And then at the team level too, like, who's the best passing team in the league? Who's got the highest attack percentage? All of that kind of stuff helps people get more educated as to your product.
For sure. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot, I think they did a lot of good things. Hopefully there's some things to figure out, some things to work on. They come back. PVF will come back this fall. Like I said, there's going to be a new team in Kansas City, a new team in Indianapolis and Dallas. So, three new cities excited about it. There'll be up to 10 teams next year. Hopefully all these teams, 7 teams that participate this year, are back, and we'll see if there's any movement. But then, like we talked about with Brooke a little bit, we'll see which players. There are going to be defections, I bet, from PVF to Love, to going back to European and other international leagues. So we'll see. But hey, year one.
I'm really interested to see how this affects also Athletes Unlimited, because if you look at Athletes Unlimited, PVF, and Love, you're going to have 3 separate professional volleyball experiences, and some players could probably cross over and play AU and then either Love or PVF. And it sounds like Brooke Nuneviller is gonna do that. Is gonna play Athletes Unlimited and then probably play in one of the other leagues as well. But we have at least 3 penciled in for next year professional volleyball leagues in the U.S. It's a little bit of whiplash. 3 years ago we didn't have any, and now we got 3, and that is to say nothing about chatter that somebody else might be looking to start one in a couple of years. And it's like, okay, we're in the big bang, right? Like all the planets have exploded, and like the gases are coming together, and like we just need things to cool down and solidify a little bit. But like on the positive side, this is great if you're a volleyball fan in the United States, is you're getting much more exposure, not just at the college level with kind of expanded broadcast inventory, but now at the professional level, you're able to watch volleyball like 9 months out of the year, which, 10 years ago, you couldn't watch volleyball 3 months out of the year most of the time.
Well, and the USA Volleyball ever got a good television contract, you could watch it 12 months out of the year, which kind of leads to my last point I'll make, is the scheduling. It'd be great if they moved up the end of PVF before the international season starts too, because you lost, like, Asia O'Neal left the Columbus Fury because she went to go play with the national team. So maybe move up so we're finishing end of April, early May. So if you get those high profile players that do get to play a national team, they don't have to abandon their PVF teams. So that's all.
Yeah, that would be too much to ask. The most high profile collection of volleyball players in the country, the United States national team, you don't see them on TV until the Olympics, unless you want to, go to Stream East and find some illegal stream of Volleyball Nations League matches or something like that. It is really hard to find this product, or harder than it should be, I should say.
Definitely.
Rotation 5, we're actually going to look at the other burgeoning professional volleyball league in the U.S., because some more news about Love Volleyball. That's League One Volleyball, that I believe is going to start their season in are they going to start in December of this year?
They might start in December, early January. They'll start at the beginning of January. I know their camps are in November, but they're going to start almost immediately, because, again, they want to get done before international season starts. So, but I would expect a lot more player news, players signed. The one big news that's probably interesting for our audience is Maddie Kubik, former Nebraska Cornhusker. She will be playing in Omaha, which is becoming a collection of former Cornhuskers, with Justine Wong Arantes and Jordan Larson are also signed. So those are the only 3 players that have been assigned, but there's a lot more players that have been signed to the league, but not assigned to a specific of the 6 teams. So expect a lot more of that news to come out too.
And then also some of the big news of the last couple of weeks is the coaches for the 6 League One franchises have been named. Omaha's coach is going to be somewhat familiar if you followed college volleyball for quite a while. Former Kansas State head coach Susie Fritz is going to be the head coach of the Omaha League One franchise. Susie spent the last year as an associate head coach, I believe was her title, at Arkansas, which made it to the Elite Eight. And lost to Nebraska in the regional final this year and had some great talent on that. But the rest of the league has coaches with a lot of international experience. Atlanta is going to be coached by Paulo Coco. Austin is going to be coached by Marco Bonita. Houston is going to be coached by Massimo Barbolini, who I believe has won several championships at the international level. Matt Fierbringer is going to be coaching Madison, Wisconsin's franchise. And then former Team USA libero Tama Miyashiro, who had a great college career playing at Washington, is going to be the Salt Lake City franchise coach. So these look like some really accomplished names.
Yeah, the cool thing is Matt Furbringer, his daughter is actually going to be a freshman for the Wisconsin Badgers this fall too. So very conveniently located in his now hometown for coaching purposes too. But a lot of international flavor. Susie Fritz is kind of the outlier, like you said. She has a very extensive college game. Everyone else, whether it's coaching in Italy or playing with the national team or kind of being involved in the United States national team. So it's a different kind of feel, but I think it matches their player pool as well too. A lot more international experience, a lot more national team experience there too. So
those leagues are going to overlap just a little bit next year. Not just a little bit, probably a fair amount, because League One and the Pro Volleyball Federation are both going to be playing in like January, February, March, the winter of 2025. PVF may get an earlier start next season. So I thought I had heard that they may be starting in November a little bit. I'm not sure if that's still the plan. And I bet some of these plans are still fluid based on franchises, because when you have a league that's kind of in its infancy, like the PVF is, you can see some big changes in operations between league year 1 and year 2. So just kind of prepare yourself for that.
Cool. Well, let's close up, go from another professional league to the national. Rotation 6, we'll talk a little briefly about the Volleyball Nations League. They just completed their first week of playoff of 3, and then there'll be the finals. They will play, is it the Philippines this year? Is that where it is? It's somewhere in Southeast Asia. I forget.
Honestly, I'm not sure. But yeah, it'll be at a time probably inconveniently time for us to follow it live. It'll be in the middle
Southeast
of the night.
Asia, I know. But United States finished the first week 2-2. They beat Thailand and the Dominican Republic, but I don't know if it's disheartening or not too, but they lost to China and Brazil, who are also probably 2 contenders for medals in the Olympics too. But yeah, that's kind of the early. Jeff, were you able to follow or watch along with the stats at least for any of these matches?
Mostly through recaps and a little bit from Team USA or Avid, kind of giving some live play-by-play. I was not able to watch the match. Both of them were both China and Brazil, I believe. Brazil was prime time. China was in the afternoon. It is hard to win a match on the road at Brazil. The U.S. dropped a set. They also lost 3-1 to China, which is always one of the strongest teams in the world. I think, what Karch Karaya, head coach of Team USA, is doing is mixing some lineups a little bit, just kind of figuring out who the best combinations are. For example, both of the U.S. setters got play the last couple weeks. Jordan Poulter, who set the team to the gold medal 4 years ago, played, as well as Lauren Carlini, the former Wisconsin star. So you're looking at, I'm not sure which one of those is going to solidify as the starter, but both of them got some run as the U.S. is kind of trying some different things out.
Yeah. And the Huskers, I think, both played. They didn't play against Thailand, I think, in that first match too, but Jordan Larson and Justine Wong Arantes both started the other 3 matches. Looked very good. I mean, Larson is one of the leaders in kills. Justine is one of the better passers in there too. So I think they're really impressive.
I think Jordan was the best passer statistically from the first week of play for the U.S., which when you consider the amount of time that she had taken off from playing, she hasn't played since last year. That's really impressive. So, I think you're going to see both of those players on the final Olympic roster in Paris.
Yeah, the other person I think that really made a big step forward and kind of announced herself was Maddie Skinner too. As Nebraska fans know her, the senior to be, University of Texas, really was impressive, and I think was at times the best or second best attacker for the United States too. I mean, the United States did not have their full arsenal of players. They were missing some key people. Kelsey Robinson didn't play. There's a couple other people who weren't part of the team, but Maddie Skinner really announced herself and is going to make a push for the Olympic team too, playing with her sister Avery. So it's just like the Kentucky team for 2020 that won the title. So,
and I think the U.S. is still kind of looking to see who's going to be the best option on the right at opposite. It was kind of a small team, I think, that the U.S. ran out there. They are not have a bunch of 6'4", 6'5" players who are going to dominate at the net. So they're going to have to scrap it up defensively, I think. And you're going to get it. They don't play this week, I don't believe. It's actually next week. They're going to play the segment of matches here in the U.S. down in Arlington, Texas. The U.S. is going to play Canada, Bulgaria, Poland, and Turkey at the end of May and going into the first week of June. So I would say that's a little bit of a step back, maybe in competition, but Canada was really impressive. I thought even in their losses in the first week of a Volleyball Nations League play. So, there's never an easy week when you're playing these international tournaments. The U.S. has already qualified for the Paris Games, but I believe some other teams are still out there scrapping, trying to make it into Olympic qualification.
For sure, yeah. And if you get ambitious, they're playing down in Arlington, Texas during that time frame. After you make some Memorial Day trips down to Arlington, Texas, watch some volleyball down there. I imagine there's lots of seats to be had. So, so national team, they'll be back in action here soon. But that's it for us today. So thanks for listening. If you want to join our community, represent Volleyball Pod, we have Volleyball State. We have merchandise. Feel free to check us out, hurrdatsports.com/shop. You can rock all the latest gears. Maybe wear it underneath your Supernova shirt, championship shirt. Do you need to change your rotation up a little bit? Why not rep some Volleyball State?
I want to still see my first bald set spike shirt in the wild, as well as my Justice for Liberos t-shirt. So for all of us, bald-headed volleyball fans, go ahead. This shirt was made especially for you. Justice for Liberos. We never recognize the back row players enough, so go on out there and grab that as well. We also want to thank Kahm Broham for producing the show today before he heads off to his own sand volleyball performance. Thanks very much, Kahm. You can subscribe and review, and this is at all the places you get podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I think Google Podcasts is now one of the big players on the platform. And of course, you can always see our smiling faces on YouTube. Subscribe to the Hurrdat Sports YouTube channel. Lincoln, tell the folks where they can find you on social media and maybe what they're going to be reading from you in the next week or so.
Yes. Find us on you list the podcast at Volleyball Pod. Email us at volleyballstate@gmail.com. Any questions, anything you want to give us a shout out, anything you're wondering about, follow me on Twitter at Lincoln_VB. I am already knees deep in writing season previews and capsules for the 2024 Nebraska season. I'm learning all about their non-conference opponents and who they'll be facing in the fall. So that will hit the magazine racks in, I think, late July or mid to late July. So I'm working on it already. Summertime, got to work on those advances.
And thanks to everyone who keeps DMing us stuff on Twitter at Volleyball Pod. We've got some great film clips we've consulted on via DM to give you a heads up on some of the newcomers to the Nebraska volleyball roster. So excited for that. Email us again at volleyballstate@gmail.com. And we will be back in June with 6 more rotations about the college sport of volleyball. We'll look at some professional leagues as well as give you an Olympic preview of Team USA. That's all coming up next month on Volleyball State.